Testing, testing, testing. Okay, we live. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. Good afternoon, y'all. This is the man in the black mask, and I finally found an article that I want to share with you, but I also got another one to read with you too. So I'm gonna be on this topic for a little while because I'm gonna read two articles related to this case. Okay, the A Train Ripper busted in New York City subway stabbings. You know how I feel? I feel his name should have been Jackass the A Train Ripper. Aha, that would have really stuck. Because obviously, he don't got what it takes to be a serial killer. Which if he did, he would have done his damnedest to avoid the law. Instead, the law caught up to him. He fought the law and the law lost. I mean, no, the law won. He fought the law and the law won. And the fucking story. Now, let us begin, shall we? The A Train Ripper busted, still covered in blood, and knife attacks on NYC Subway. Now, a lot of you are probably safe now that this piece of shit is behind bars. Well, not yet. He's at Bellevue getting his brain checked out. The A Train Ripper is in custody, police confirmed Sunday. The knife-wielding madman was wanted in a gruesome subway spree that left two homeless people dead and two others slashed along the A Train line, was nabbed in Upper Manhattan on Saturday, law enforcement officials said. Actually, law enforcement sources. His shoes were splattered with his victim's blood when he was taken into custody, and he was still in possession of the bloody knife. One source added, come on, after they put the cuffs on him, why didn't they just frisk that piece of shit? Why would you let him walk into the fucking precinct still with the bloody knife in his possession? Because remember, each time I got detained, I got searched. But this one took the cake. They didn't search until after they marched into the fucking precinct. I mean, what gives, man? See, if I was a cop and I bust this one jackass on sight, before we go to the precinct, the first thing I do is search him for any weapons and contraband. They must have waited till after they got him to the precinct to do that shit. But a lot of answers and a lot of questions are going to come out of this. People are going to raise questions as to why wasn't he frisked once he was put in cuffs. Now, that's kind of bizarre. The yet-named suspect was in custody at the 34th precinct in Washington Heights on Saturday, sources said. Police said Sunday that he has since been transferred from the precinct, although they wouldn't say where. Security issue, of course. The bloodshed sparked an outcry for New York safer subways. And NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea responded, announcing a surge of 500 additional cops for the department's transit bureau to be deployed across the city immediately. Pronto. Thank you, Dermot Shea. Because there's a lot of us that depend on the subway for work and all this other stuff. Well, let me tell you something. I have not rode the subway since December 31st, 2019, 2 months prior to the pandemic. But a cousin of mine was attacked on the subway like 2 or 3 months ago, and I still worry about her from time to time, you know? All right. At 11:30 a.m., a 67-year-old man was stabbed as he pushed his walker along the southbound platform at the A Train's 181st Street station in Washington Heights. Now, that's not too far from Harlem. I am going to kill you, he told cops, his attacker screamed, according to sources. He was stabbed in the right knee and left buttocks. While he required surgery, he is expected to survive the attack. The attack is preliminarily believed to be connected to 3 subsequent attacks. 12 hours later, at 11:29 p.m. Friday, a man was found stabbed to death, but still slumped in his seat on an A train at Mount Avenue Station in Far Rock. Yeah, Far Rockaway. Because I once lived in Far Rockaway from 91 to 94. He suffered stab wounds to his neck and torso and was pronounced dead at the scene. Some 2 hours after that, at 1:15 a.m. Saturday, a 44-year-old woman was found sprawled dead, again in a pool of blood, under her subway seat inside an A train at the 207th Street station in Inwood. She had been stabbed throughout her body. Afterward, at 1:28 a.m. Saturday, a 43-year-old man was randomly stabbed as he slept on the stairwell at the A train station at West 181st Street. He stumbled to a nearby bank on West 181st Street, but collapsed before entering the vestibule, cops said. The victim is being treated at an area hospital for 4 puncture wounds to his back and is in stable condition. Okay, good. Now he's going to testify against that prick in court, and I hope he does. The 44-year-old woman was taken to New York Presbyterian Island Hospital where she was pronounced dead. Well, declared dead, according to authorities. It is the worst subway stabbing spree since June of 2006 when a homeless serial slasher injured 4 people on a 13-hour rampage on trains in Harlem and Rockefeller Center. His victims all survived. And that sick fuck is probably in jail for life. And it is the worst mass violence against the homeless since 2019, when 4 homeless men were bludgeoned to death in their sleep one night in Manhattan's Chinatown. Mayor Bill de Blasio recently waived off NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea's public concerns over a recent spate of subway attacks, which included a stock hanger shoved onto the tracks. That was referring to the 50-year-old that got shoved by this, crazy chick that's still on the loose. They still haven't caught that piece of shit yet. Now, I have another article to read to you in connection with this. So, if you don't mind, just hold on for a few, right? This thing's running slow, man. This thing's running slow, so if you don't mind, just hold on, man. Yeah, trying to find this article right now. Yeah, and now we know who the A-Train Ripper is, okay? And now I'm going to read it to you. A-Train Ripper identified as Rigoberto Lopez, homeless man from Brooklyn. And I'm going to have one more article to read to this because I'm going to put it all into this. Police on Sunday identified the A-Train Ripper as a 21-year-old homeless man from Brooklyn. So, wow, he too is homeless and he targeted other homeless people. How fucking bizarre is that, man? I mean, seriously? Turns out this one is homeless too. Rigoberto Lopez, who lives in a shelter in Barham Hill, was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 2 counts of second-degree attempted murder over a pair of deaths and 2 wounded victims, the NYPD said. Lopez was arrested late Saturday, still covered in blood and with the alleged murder weapon, and charged after undergoing a psychiatric evaluation at Bellevue Hospital, police and law enforcement sources told the Post. Now you can tell that he's at the Bellevue Hospital prison ward, which houses inmates from Rikers Island, if not the Tombs. Bellevue, like Elmhurst, has a prison unit. Elmhurst is for females coming from Rikers Island, both adolescents and adults. And same for Bellevue. Police said his bloody slashing spree began around 11:30 a.m. Friday, when police found a 67-year-old man who was stabbed on the southbound A-Train platform at the 181st Street station in Washington Heights in Manhattan. 12 hours later, a 57-year-old homeless man was found stabbed to death aboard an A-Train at the Mott Avenue station in Far Rockaway, Queens. About 2 hours later, a 44-year-old homeless woman identified by her family as Claudine Roberts was found fatally slashed in the floor of blood on an A-Train at the 207th Street station in Inwood in Manhattan. Around 1:30 a.m. Saturday, a 43-year-old man was randomly stabbed on a train at West 181st Street in Manhattan, police said. Now, I want to read this one more article to you about what the father has to say about all this, because that's his son, okay? That's his son, and obviously he couldn't believe what his son had done. Okay? I'm going to read this one to you, and after that I'm done. Okay, now let me hear what this father had to say, because obviously he's in disbelief. Now, woman killed by A-Train Ripper was struggling Jamaican immigrant, dad said. Well, actually, this is the dad of the victim and not the suspect. Right? The woman killed by the A-Train Ripper was an immigrant from Jamaica who was tragically driven to the streets by mental illness, her father said. Now, it's possible that the suspect himself might be mentally ill, too. The victim, identified by police sources and kin as 44-year-old Claudine Roberts, having a nice girl growing up before mental illness left her homeless and in harm's way, said her dad, Winston Roberts. Now, let me tell you something. A lot of these people that are homeless do suffer from addiction and mental illness, including the suspect. Okay, but I'm not going to speculate, but it's possible that both the victims and the suspect might have some form of mental or drug challenges. But that don't excuse what happened, either to the victims or the suspect. Okay? Now, a lot of you is very concerned about this. And quite frankly, so am I. Because let me tell you something. I was homeless at one point. This was like 2011, 2012. I was only homeless for a couple of days. So each time I think about these victims and the suspect, I think that could have been me. You know? Hell, I could have been dead if I didn't return home. But luckily I found somebody that would help me, you know? It breaks my heart, the father said from his Brooklyn home. She came here well dressed on Wednesday, he said of his daughter. She was in pink shoes and a green jacket. Now she's in the morgue. Claudine, who had just gotten out of Bellevue Hospital amid her ongoing mental issues about a week ago, was riding a train when she was killed by a crazed homeless man early Saturday in a random slashing street that also got an apparent homeless male strap hanger dead and two more riders wounded, cops and her dad said. Police identified the suspected killer as Rigoberto Lopez, 21, listing his current address as a Durham Hills homeless shelter in Brooklyn. Now, he's going to be at the Bellevue Prison Hospital. He'll probably remain there, and he'll probably have his hearing remotely. So since he can't go to Rikers Island because he's disabled, they'll transfer him to the medical unit at Bellevue. So yeah, something is really wrong with him, and I'm sure a lot of us are going to hope that they mount some kind of insanity defense on him if this is serious mental illness involved. Although it don't excuse what he did, but it's possible that he may be incompetent in some way. Okay, but I will never, ever excuse violence in general, let alone murder. Okay, I would never do that. I would never glorify violence. I'm happy they caught him once instead of the suspect. The dad lamented that his daughter was living in a shelter herself while struggling with mental demons. Claudine had migrated from Jamaica when she was 7 and became a U.S. citizen, her father said. The girl's mother died in 2012, he said. The youngest of 4 children, Claudine began to suffer from mental illness as a teen. She started getting like this when she was in high school, the dad said. We had to take her to the hospital. She was in Bellevue since January, Winston Roberts said. She just came out a week ago. I said, Claudine, you should do the follow-up and take your medication, or you're going to find yourself back in the hospital. She came to get her passport, he said of her recent visit. I said, I gave it to you. And then she said she gave it to the woman at the shelter, but the woman said she never gave it to her. I love my daughter, he said. I try to do the best for her. Now this dead woman's father is railing right now. He is livid that another crazed piece of shit would do this to his own daughter. Okay? Police said Claudine was found dead in a pool of blood aboard an A train at the 207th Street station in Inwood in Manhattan shortly after 1 a.m. Saturday. The body of the other fatal victim, a 57-year-old man, was found aboard the train at the Mott Avenue station in Far Rockaway, Queens, around 11:30 p.m. Friday. The other men were wounded in the attacks along the A-line. Police arrested Lopez in connection with the rampage, and law enforcement sources said he had blood spattered on his clothes and was still in possession of the bloody knife when apprehended, which is kind of bizarre because they should have searched him right after they put the cuffs on him. Now, each time I was arrested and detained, I got searched. So why didn't they do it to this motherfucker? Winston Roberts said he learned of his youngest daughter's death from cops. The police came and told me yesterday, he said, adding one officer said, they stabbed her. My other daughter is just bawling and bawling, the dad said. I love my daughter, he said. I try to do the best for her. Now, a lot of you are probably going to wish, why didn't they shoot his ass too, the suspect? I mean, why did they let him get off so easy? You know, let him march into the precinct in blood-drenched clothes, right? And still in possession of the fucking blade. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. I'm sure none of us have ever been allowed to walk into the precinct with a weapon. But yet this one did. Even though his hands was cuffed behind his back, they still should have searched him and seized the knife right after they put the cuffs on him and put his ass in the police car and took him to the precinct to get booked. Now, a lot of questions are going to come out because of this in regards to the cops' actions. And I know that his lawyer, whoever he or she is probably going to have a field day with this. And will probably try to mount an insanity defense on him. Now, I got to admit, though, I pray for the safety of every man, woman, and child out there that depend on the subway to go to school and to go to work and to do other things. But me, I haven't rode the subway in 2 years, so I got nothing to lose. But I'm still concerned over this because I still ride the buses and people still act out every now and then. But I got to admit, though, subway crime is a big problem nowadays, and I would like to thank Dermot Shea for ramping up police security on each and every one of the subways in all 5 boroughs because there's always room for a copycat. there's still people that's willing to shove people onto the tracks. And yo, I worry that could be one of my relatives, even though I'm not close to them, but I still worry about them. Just like some of you who may not be close to some of your relatives, but you still worry about them when these things happen. I understand. I get you. I feel you, man. I feel your pain, whatever it is that you're feeling. Okay? And I just pray to God that this piece of shit, right? This jackass, the A-Train Ripper, is brought to justice. And he gets put under the jail. And then he gets light. Because he got multiple counts of murder and attempted murder. Okay? Possibly 2 counts each. But either way, he's fucked. And had there been a death penalty available, he'd be the first person in line to receive the lethal injection. Just like Stanley Tookie Williams back in 2005. Okay? But let me tell you something. His day is coming, and he's no match for the big dudes in jail who will turn him into a little girl. And say hello to my little friend. That's going to be Bubba. That's going to put it in his ass. Think about it. There's a lot of people in there that's going to be a lot meaner and more violent and more dangerous than he is. So if you think he's seen trouble, he ain't seen nothing yet. So once again, I urge all of you that's riding buses and trains, all of you men, women, and kids, to be very careful. Watch your back out there, okay? Please be very careful, because there's a lot of fucking lunatics out there that like to terrorize people on the subways for no reason. Okay? So please, man, I pray for the safety of each and every one of you during this challenging time. Because ever since the pandemic hit, subway crime has gone up drastically. And that's a fact. And street violence too. And negative interactions with the police. I mean, the society has got cancerous after the pandemic has started. And it's probably going to get worse too once this pandemic clears up. And I gotta admit though, even after we get out of the pandemic, don't expect things to be the same as they were before this crisis, because they won't be. But just pray that they do get better, even though some of the scars still remain. Okay? So anyway, thank you for listening to the Man in the Black Mask. He truly appreciates your guidance. And he appreciates the fact that you listen to him as he reads his stories and shares them with you, because some of them are personal and based on his life experiences, because I just told you some of mine earlier. So thank you for supporting the Man in the Black Mask in this channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe and drop a question underneath the screen and tell me what you think about all this, okay? And I will tell you everything. I promise you. If I have the answers, I will give them to you. And if I have another story to share with you, I will bring it out. No ifs, ands, or buts to it. So good luck, be well, and have a good day. Thank you.